Hello all, welcome back again. Continuing from the previous session to give you just a glimpse of what we have covered in part 1 and part 2 of the video is basically we have covered what is CATIA, how do you enter the workbench, and the complete toolbar which is called profile. Profile comprises of a simple profile, various type of predefined profiles, circles, splines, you have ellipses which is conic, you have lines, you have axis as well as your points. Further going into it, we'll be covering the operation toolbar. Under operation, the first one is called a corner command. Corner usually removes a sharp edge and creates a smooth corner by creating an arc. There are various type of corners which are actually covered in the advanced level, but to tell you how the command works, you can click on the corner command by using your left click, select in between what and what you'd like to create the corner. For instance, I'd like to remove a sharp edge over here. I can just select both the lines. It auto creates an arc of a certain radii and removes the sharp corner. Not only in this conditions, you can also do it in various intersecting profiles like these. You can just select both of them. It helps you create the arc. Now, apart from this, you also have two circles. In case you want to create it in between any two circles also, you can do it. If you have a rectangular profile and instead of selecting both the profiles, if you had selected a simple dot also it will do, which is the point. So when I select the corner command, you can directly select the point. It also helps you create the arc. All the segments are basically joined through various points, as you can see. This is the point. Now, same goes with your chamfer operation. You can create a simple chamfer. All you got to do is select both the faces or both the lines or both the profiles. It creates the chamfer. Again, advanced level of chamfers are in your further training of your CATIA. While doing this, as you have observed, it usually takes the hypotenuse length as well as the angle. It's not mandatory that it is supposed to do it this way. If you want the chamfer operation, you can select both of them and you can change it to what you want. For example, I want two different lengths as my chamfer. So I have first and second length option under my sketch tools toolbar. Once I select it, it will give you two different lengths. Double click on the dimension to change whatever length you want. Now this will be a non-uniform chamfer. If it has to be uniform, you can leave the same length as it was by clicking on Ctrl Z. Now, there is another type of chamfer which is called, when you select both of them, which is called the angle and first length. That is, we'll be providing it with the angle and then we'll be providing it with the length. This is the first length and this is the angle. You can double click on it to change the angle. You can again double click on it to change the chamfer distance. Depending on how you want the chamfer, you can use three different types. When you select both the profiles, it usually activates. The first one is angle and hypotenuse, which is the first type which we have seen. The second one is first and second length. And the third one is angle and first length. Now, coming to your covering your further operations, the third one is called your relimitations. Relimitation toolbar is actually used to trim. Under relimitation toolbar, the first one is trim. When you click on trim, it usually trims off in between any two profiles. There are two types. The first one is trimming of all the elements. The second one is trimming the first element. Here I want to trim off all the elements. So when I select any two profiles, it usually tends to trim off all the elements. It depends on the order of your selection as well. If you want to trim it this way, you can. If you want to trim it this way also, you can. Now, the same trim, if I would like to use trim first element, then whichever I select as the first element, only that element gets trimmed. The other profile or the second profile, whichever you have selected, will remain as it is. You can just select it and trim it till wherever you want. Again, you can just select it, trim it till wherever you want. Now, you can actually use this as an extend command as well. For instance, I want to extend this line till maybe this. So you can use this way as well. Or if in the same option, if you're trying to use trim first element and not the second element, when you select the first element, you can extend it, you can select any profile. I'd like to extend it till here. It extended still there. As you can see, they're in line. This is your trim. Now, next is your break. Break command usually breaks the profile wherever you desire. So when you click on the break command, the first it will ask you is which is the profile or the element you want it to be broken or break it. For example, if I select this line, this is the profile I want to break. Where do you want to break it? I don't have a breaking element here. So if I select anywhere on the screen, it usually tends to break it this way. It should be selected on the line. Whereas if you have intersected profiles, assuming this condition, when you have these kind of profiles, what happens is when you select your break command, I am trying to break this. My breaking element with which I want to break the profile, I can select it this second time. Now this will separate, this will separate. If you do it the other way around, for instance, I want to create a break, select the circle. Now what is your breaking element? You can select the line. This will break into two different parts. This is called your break command. If you do not have a breaking element also you can do it. If you have your breaking element also you can do it. And if you do not have it this way also you can do it. Now the third one is called quick trim. Quick trim usually trims off whatever you select. For instance, I want to trim off this portion. I can directly select it. It trims off. As usual, if you want to use the profile multiple times, you can just double click on it quickly and start using it wherever you like. Now, under the Relimitations tab, there are two more important ones, which is called a close arc as well as a complement arc. Now, let's start with close arc. For instance, I have an arc which you have already seen. I have changed my mind and I want to close this arc. When you want to close an arc, it usually becomes a circle. So to do so, you can click on the close arc command. Select the arc, it creates a closure. Now, if you want to create, if you have an arc this way, now if you want to create a complement of the arc, complement is the remaining portion of the arc and not the existing one. Whatever you have on the screen, this arc will be trimmed off and the remaining part of your circle will be formed. So you can click on complement arc, select the arc, the other portion also creates the arc. So if you want to close it again, you can use close arc and close it as well. This is your Relimitations tab. Now, coming to your transformations. The fourth one is your transformation. Transformation is moving a profile or an element from one location to the other. It can either be done by creating a mirror or a symmetry or any other way of doing it, which we will see now. In this, the first one, the first one is called a mirror. Mirror creates an exact mirror image of an element with respect to an axis. The axis can be H and V also, or you can create your own axis by using your infinite lines. I'll show you both the ways. Considering H and V, for instance, I want to create a mirror image of these two onto this side with respect to the vertical line. All you have to do is select both of them, click and hold the left click, it drags and creates a profile. Once they get selected, it turns into orange color. You can select the mirror command. The immediate next command will be select the line or an axis from which the elements should remain equidistant or create a mirror image. Select the axis, it creates the mirror image. Now these maintain equidistant with respect to the vertical line. Now assume I want to do it. I have a oriented rectangle. I want to create a mirror image of this but with respect to the horizontal axis. Again select the profile, click on mirror and select with respect to what you want to maintain the equidistant or the mirror image. Creates the mirror image. Now it need not be horizontal or vertical. It can be anything. For instance, I have a line at an axis. You can mirror these two with respect to this axis as well. It creates a mirror image with respect to this axis. This is your mirror command. Now, when you see mirror, it usually creates a copy with respect to the center axis, as in it maintains equidistant with respect to the center axis. For instance, you do not want the original copy. You only want the mirror image of it. I have a profile like this. I want only the mirror image of this, but I want this particular segment to be deleted. In that condition, you will be using a symmetry command. All you have to do is select the profile, click on the symmetry, select the axis. It creates a mirror image, but the original copy usually gets trimmed off. It's maintaining some condition over here, so let me try to delete this. Now again, select, create a symmetry, select with respect to what you want it to be, it creates the mirror image and deletes the original copy. This is your symmetry. The next one is your translate. Translate moves a profile or a segment from profile or an element from one place to another. It can create copies or it can simply move it from one location to the other. Let us see both. Click on the translate command. It asks you the first one if you want a duplicate mode. The first one I would like to explain is without the duplicate mode. Now select the geometry. From where do you want the start point and where do you want the end point? I want the start point to be the center of the circle. I want the end point to be somewhere around here. Again, translate. I can move this profile without even considering the center of the circle. I can use anything and move it to wherever I like. Now, if you want to create a copy of the same, you can click on duplicate mode and how many copies would you like? For example, I want 6 copies. Select the profile. Again, it will ask you what is the start point. In which direction would you like the 6 copies? While giving this, you can see a small value here which gives the length. For example, I want it to be at 60. It maintains 60. it maintains 60. Wherever I select, it will maintain 60 and I can give it in any direction. For instance, I'd like to give it in this direction. Distance between the center to center is 60. This is your translate. The next one is called your rotate. If you want to rotate a profile with respect to an axis, you can use your rotate. Again, rotate also creates multiple copies or just creates one copy. Depends on how you want. If you do not want any copy at all, it even does that as well. So when I select the rotate, the first one is I do not want a copy. So I'm just unchecking the duplicate mode. Select the profile. Now the next one is you're supposed to give its axis, as in you're supposed to give its rotation point. So I am assuming the center as my rotation point. Create a rotation. How much degree do you want to create it to? For example, I want to create it to 60 degrees. Simply click on enter, it rotates the element to 60 degrees. If you want to create multiple copies of the same, again under your rotate, you can create duplicate mode. Select how many copies would you like? I want 4. With respect to what axis? And then start creating copies. It will create 4 copies for you. This is your rotate command. Since I have not told you the constraining part, I am not explaining how the constraining works. Maybe after we cover the constraining part, we can get back to this command and then see how the constraining works as well. Now, assuming this is the length and this is the height, and I have a circle as well and with certain diameter. Now, I'll give a certain value so we don't get confused. Now, if you want to scale any of the element you're seeing on the screen, you can use a scale command. Again, scale also has duplicate and non-duplicate modes. If you want to see duplicate first, let us do that. Select the profile. It will ask you select the scaling point. You can select the scaling point. You want it to be half or double or how much. Assume I want it to be double, that is the length will turn 40 and the height will be 24. So when I say 2 and say enter, it does it for you. This is 40 and that is 24. You can also do half of it. Again, scaling with respect to this, assume with respect to this point, I want to do it to 0.5. It does it with respect to 0.5. If you do not want to keep a copy, you can uncheck it and then do it as well. I do not want to keep a copy, it goes back to the actual scaled copy. If you want to do it to a circle also you can. I do not want the duplicate mode, I am selecting the center. I do not want 20, I want 40 or maybe 60. So I want it to be 3 times to the actual one. So it becomes 3 times to the actual one. It has not created any duplicate copy. This is your scaling. The next one is called your offset command. Offset basically creates the same profile at a particular distance. Now, if you have a single profile, it works. If you have a double profile also, it works. So when I select the scaling offset, it asks you what type do you want. Just select the profile and create an offset. It creates the same profile at a desired distance. Double click on it and edit. Now, under offset, there are different types. The first one is actually called no propagation. No propagation as in there is no continuity within your profile. So when this is a continuous segment. This is a chain. When I select with no propagation highlighted, when I move it, it just creates with respect to this. But you do not want this. You want the complete chain to be offsetted. You can directly use an option which is called tangent or your point propagation. Tangent propagation only works if there is any tangent criteria in your chain. Over here, I do not have any tangent criteria, so it does not work. Assume I have a tangent criteria. Now if I create an offset with respect to tangent propagation, it works. Whereas if I use a point, irrespective of the tangency or not, as long as the profile is a chain and is continued by its points, it automatically creates the offset for the complete chain. Again, if I take a rectangle also, it's going to work. This is your point propagation. If you want to create an offset on both the sides, you can use both side offset. Just select the profile, give it on both the side, it creates on both the side. You can double click and edit the dimension. It gives you the both side offset. This is your transformation. This is your operation toolbar which you will be working in your SketchUp. The last one is projections which you will be using in your 3D, not in your 2D sketchers. Exiting the workbench. If you want to learn more about Sketcher in a more advanced way, please feel free to contact us. We'll give you the detailed description of what we are going to teach. There are more detailed description for every single command. We'd be happy to help you. If you have any queries, the details are given in the description below. We'll also give you the link for part 1 and part 2 tutorials as well, so you do not miss the continuity. Thank you.